Kara, do you have any news for us?
A rash of mysterious bird deaths is taking place in Kentucky and Indiana. According to wildlife officials, songbirds have been getting sick and dying with an illness that causes eye swelling and neurological signs in birds, primarily affecting blue jays, grackles, and European starlings. So far, West Nile and bird flu have been ruled out. Experts are warning people to keep their pets away from any dead birds.
Oh my God. Okay. Do you have the post COVID trauma that every time you hear about something that slightly sounds like the movie Outbreak, you start to go, oh God, burn their bodies? You know?
I don't think this is going to be a big deal, but as you know, I have a solid policy of reporting on any news story that sounds like it could be like playing on the news in the background in the first 10 minutes of like a thriller movie or a horror movie. Right. Anything like that, I'm going to report. Just, basically as a point of principle.
Right. For you, this is the equivalent of typing first in the comments on YouTube.
A little bit.
Oh yeah, well, I brought that up like 2 years ago. Nobody even cared about the vomiting birds on your doorstep,
I mean, obviously, I'm not first because to clear something up for our listeners, I am not a journalist. I'm not calling people. I'm not doing independent research. I am reporting on what other journalists have discovered.
So it really is like the comment saying first.
Yes, it's like, which to be fair, most pundits do that. The list of actual journalists, it's kind of like the Associated Press, and that's it.
Right. Like every time they show
there's not a lot of
working on papers, I know he's just critiquing other people's work.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I am terrified of this. I do have I'm dealing with multiple levels of post-traumatic stress here. Between the fires and now dead birds and pandemics and I think of myself as somebody who's just whatever, I go through life, it doesn't matter. But I think there are tinges of that within me, and I just I'm not very in touch with my feelings, Kara.
Yeah. Well, we never really know. I think most of us were like, yeah, bring on the apocalypse, who cares? And then we were told
until it's there, and then we're all like,
right. Then we get told, oh, but there's no AC and you can't go outside for a year. And we're like, oh, make it stop, please solve this, So
well, is there anything we can do about the AC?
Right, exactly. We do. People enjoy it.
If we have to.
Maybe controversial to say, but I think people like civilization.
Yeah.
I think people prefer it to the alternative.
The other fear that all of this has left me with is that the pandemic, regardless, okay, I want everybody who's listening to take out whether you think it's real or not. Let's say that somebody came to us and our government and said, there's a bomb in the earth, and if you guys don't dig this hole, you won't get to it. And you're all going to die. This pandemic has left me with the belief that if we are ever faced with an existential situation,
which we are,
we're going to die.
Yes.
But it's not going to work.
It's not an if situation.
We couldn't
climate change.
Have the conversation as to if it was real or not.
Right,
much
exactly.
less solve it. It's like we couldn't even have a pleasant conversation about if it was real and what to do. And now everybody's just all, oh, well, look back, you didn't even need to do that stuff. Yeah, you learn, you collect the data, you plan for next time. I mean, like when my wife and I make a decision that's bad, I don't like sit there on the couch for the next 6 months going, you totally messed that one up. That's totally your fault. No, I get behind the decision. We make the decision together. It is our joint problem. That's the way. I don't know.
What frustrates me about this is when I hear people being like, oh, well, they told us we don't need masks, and then they told us we do need masks. And I'm like, dude, you're describing like a 2-week period in March of last year. There was like a whole year in which the messaging was very consistent and very simple, where it was just like,
Well, and also that's the nature of
And
learning stuff.
people
I
just
mean,
didn't do it. Yeah.
information changes. People are misinformed. People make mistakes, but
Yeah. It's like,
you
so
can't just
because it was
ride that mistake. I mean, every person who I'm feeling safe to say that anybody who rides the mistakes of others is either single or very, very unhappily married.
yeah, that's fair.
And if you're not, you probably just don't know it. Because like how can you just go through life? I'm done. I need constructive criticism. I don't want to hear another person tell me what we did wrong, what we shouldn't be doing. I want constructive criticism. You can tell me anything you want as long as you tell me what we should do moving forward that will help everybody.
I mean, here's the thing about
Here
that.
that'll shut up 99% of the people.
Well, the thing about that is, the thing that springs to my mind as the most constructive thing to say here is just going to make you like mad, because my feeling is don't elect Trump again. That's the best way to deal with any future problems like this.
Well,
Which is a very partisan position that will piss people off, just like you
no,
were talking
I
about
also think
originally.
that's part of the problem here. I think a lot of that,
Yeah.
it's going to be great on the web. I also think that's part of the problem here is that people sum up problems because they want to put things in boxes. And once things are in boxes, they want to put boxes in boxes. And on
Well,
top of that, and we look at the world and we say, oh, Trump, bleh. Man, we had these problems. Trump really created very few new problems in this country. Very few new.
oh, true.
He
Yeah, I
might
mean,
have,
sure.
tore open some ones that were already there and made them worse.
Right. See, I think he made existing problems
The
worse.
only real problem that he invented was he really kind of destroyed some of our relationships with our allies that I hopefully is coming back. But outside of that,
Yeah,
he's not the problem. He just ain't.
sure. But I mean, here's the thing. We were talking about partisan again. I would argue that the root problem is just the far right, that they exist. Like, so, like, I mean,
It's terrible.
look, if I'm being
But that's
honest,
their problem with you.
I know, but
How
I'm
do you
right and
fix
they're
that?
wrong.
How do you fix that?
Well, you
Like,
can't.
imagine that
It's
you
not a
are
fixable problem.
no, imagine that you are a conflict resolver and you
Okay.
get sent to a planet where everybody on the planet basically has the mentality of a 12-year-old till the end of their life, because that's how the two of you view one another. That's how the left views the right and the right views the left. So you get sent to a planet with a group of 12-year-olds, and your job is to make it as good as possible for them.
Well, I would separate
That's
them.
the advice we need. We don't need to, well, we obviously just need to burn half the 12-year-olds. It's like, that's
No,
not
no, I see what you're saying, but I'm saying there's no actionable plan of like compromise between those positions. I don't think that's possible. So I think if you like pressed me to come up with a solution, I'd say put all the 12-year-olds here, put all the 12-year-olds there, other 12-year-olds there, and just make sure they don't interact anymore.
separate but equal.
Sure.
Whoops. You can't do that. That already didn't work.
Yeah, but people did that with freaking races, not ideologies.
I know. But
Having a race, your race
I
has
think
nothing to
that's
do
the
with who you
problem.
are as a person. Your ideology is who you are as a person.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem with people in this world. And that is that, and I don't mean you're the problem. I'm the problem too. I'm trying to become aware of it. So I'm definitely not a pundit trying to tell everybody who they need to be. I am the problem as well. But I think the problem is our general viewing of ourselves in the world, of this attitude of, if everybody were just like me, it would be okay. Or if everybody were just like my group of people, it would be okay. And we all kind of have that attitude. That's how I feel about people that I want to hang out with, and so on and so forth. It's hard to escape that attitude. But the attitude that I'm thinking we need to adopt is a little more evolutionary, and that is weather the storm until we're smart enough to pull this off.
Sure, and I can get behind that. But here's my thing. It's not like every ideology is equal. Like, There's so many ideologies throughout the history of the world that have gone by the wayside because they totally suck. Let's say half the world suddenly started believing in the divine right of kings again.
The divine right of what?
The divine right of kings. Let's say, half the world was suddenly monarchist, which is what people were for most of history.
Yeah, we seem to be getting back to that.
Well,
we're working our way there.
Like, what's the compromise with that? How do you get along with people who like, okay, there should just be a king who's in charge of everything?
Well, I assume that kings were initially invented in history. They started out as despots that ruled for enough generations to the point where they were able to convince people that they were divine. Well, and we're just working on that now.
That's not what the divine right of kings is. The divine right of kings is the historical idea that God had ordained certain people to be kings, and that it was something called the Great Chain of Being. Basically, the idea that there was a divinely ordered hierarchy of people, and that any break in the hierarchy would not only cause chaos, but was against God. Oh. And that was what people, essentially in Europe and in many other places, it developed sort of independently a couple times, believed was like that was how people saw the world for thousands of years.
Sounds like an awesome sci-fi.
And essentially no one believes this anymore because that ideology sucked and we got rid of it. So I'm saying some ideologies suck and we need to get rid of them. And that's not insane because we've done that before. And we can all agree now that the divine right of kings was bad. So I'm saying, fascism needs to also go that way. And honestly, so does like proto-fascism, alt-right in that area. That's just as bad. So I think hopefully we will eventually realize that ideology sucks and eventually no one will believe it anymore. And I don't think that's terribly unreasonable.
Yeah, we're just not there yet, though, is what I'm saying.
No, of course we're not.
The being that we are needs to weather the storm until we're capable of doing that.
Yeah, well, so how would you suggest weathering the storm?
By mitigating problems in the ways that help the most amount of people feel the confident, like Childhood's End. Did you ever read Childhood's End?
No.
So spaceships come over, they stop all wars, and within 2 generations, humanity starts to evolve to another level because everything that they were spending, all the brain capacity that they were spending on conflict, they were now able to put towards construction.
Sure.
So, something like that,
But it's not possible to have construction without having a conflict with the people who disagree on how it should happen.
Yes, but I mean, we're getting pretty broad with the definition of conflict. I mean, of course,
I'm not saying, I'm not talking about civil war. I mean,
you're not going to punch him in the face and be all, it needs to be a trapezoid. It's like.
No, I know, but you see what I'm like, if it was just as easy as everyone needs to sit down and solve the problems, well, sure, but like they're not going to do that because they don't agree. And not only do they not agree, it's not like one side saying it would be nice if this was 10% different and the other side is saying no. One side is saying we should go left and the other side is saying we should go right.
Right.
And you can't split your body in half.
You're physically incapable of agreeing.
Yeah, I agree.
So we need to drop the attitude that everybody needs to be one way, and we need to start the attitude of we need to mitigate the storm until we're capable of pulling that off.
I just don't see how you mitigate. I don't see how you mitigate anything when it's impossible to agree on any topics.
Well, I mean, I was talking to my daughter about this, so you got you got democracy, and everybody's just, oh, we're a democracy, dang it. But we're not a democracy. We're a democratic republic. But wait, we're not a democratic republic. We're a constitutional democratic republic. And a lot of people go, oh, yeah, I forgot we have these things. But those things mean something. So we're a republic. We're broken into sections. Each of those sections is a democracy. I'm not telling you this. I'm explaining to the audience. Each of those sections is a democracy with the line drawn in the sand that is
each of those sections is a republic. It's not like there's a legislature for each state which makes the rules, so it's still representative, which makes it a republic.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you drill that down, but it went right. And then the Constitution is the line, basically. Right. You know, in a true democracy, 51% of us could sit around and vote every black person needs to get out of the country.
Right, and the
in a true
Constitution is there to
democracy,
say,
we
we
the
can't
next
do.
day we would start doing that. But obviously, we have a constitution that draws the line that says, no, you can only be this much of an asshole.
Right.
You know, and I don't know. I don't know. We're babies. We're babies in the grand scheme of things. I think we just need to change our attitude of how are we going to survive until we're less stupid.
Yeah. Well, I hope that is possible.
Yeah, me too. Me too. What's that hump thing with the evolution? There's some term for the reason why we might not have met other species, and that's because
the great filter.
yeah, we might get great filtered.
Yeah.